Blog Talk Radio.
Michiamo Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit Neye AMANSEM Da Medinde Ojirapo Kwesi Ranehmpata Akan Ojirapo of the Akwamu Nation in North America. Akwamu Mayan Amaruka Etifimu. That means greetings to all Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit people. My name is Ojirapo Kwesi Ranehmpata Akan Ojirapo of the Akwamu Nation in North America. Akwamu Mayan Amaruka Etifimu within Ojira Mind, the purified nation, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere. Yet I say thank you once again for tuning into the broadcast. The chat room is open. If you have any questions or comments in the chat room, you must log in as a user in order to interact. If you don't have a username, you can sign up for one quickly in Blog Talk. If you have any questions or comments on the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised. We typically have 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. We have Akanfo Nana Som, Ancient Authentic Akan Ancestral Religion on Joda on Monday nights, where we deal specifically with the Akan expression of ancestral religion, of Nana Som, foremost because we are Akan, secondly because of the misinformation which has been propagated by individuals in the Western Hemisphere as well as those on the continent of Afuraikai who have been infected with white culture, and therefore their presentation of Akan culture is infected as well. So we deal with ancient, authentic Akan ancestral religion, which deals with our ancestral Akan culture from ancient Kanat, which is ancient Nubia, as we migrated from ancient Kanat to reestablish the Kanat Empire in the western part of the continent, the Empire of Ghana, a couple of thousand years ago. Some of our people migrated from that region further south to reestablish Akan or Akana civilization in the forest belt and savanna regions. Hundreds of years later, some of our people were taken from those regions and forced into North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean and Europe during the Musuo Kessie, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era. And this is how some of us ended up in North America and so forth. But we maintained our ancestral religious traditions, our Akan ancestral religion. Thus, we have Winti, which is the Akan tradition in Suriname, South America, Obeah, which is the Akan tradition in Jamaica, Hoodoo, which is the Akan tradition in North America. From the Akan term Undu, which means medicine from roots, trees, plant life, it also means to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession, spirit communication. So we deal with the authentic expression of Akan ancestral religion on Joda Monday nights. On Abenada Tuesday nights, we have Ojira, which means purification. We always talk about Ojira purification operationalizes Nana Som. Purification operationalizes Afurakani, or African ancestral religion, no matter what form it takes. So we deal with the various expressions, not just the Akan expression, but the various expressions of ancestral religion on Ojira Da, Purification Day, and we purify concepts, purify culture, purify cosmology, purify our understanding of ancestral religion from an authentic perspective. And we show how ancestral religion impacts every aspect of our lives. Ancestral religion, in essence, is the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance. That means through ritual, we incorporate those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to incorporate in order to harmonize our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order. And through ritual, we reject those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to reject in order to restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions, and thus realign ourselves with divine order. So the expansive and contractive pose of ancestral religion is the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance. It is by this means that we are able to maintain our ancestral culture or way of life, which means that we execute our divine function in creation, and in the context of that function, we seek to align every thought, intention, and action with divine order every moment of every day. When we make legitimate mistakes, and we engage the ritual process to ritually incorporate divine law, ritually restore balance, so that divine balance, so we can realign ourselves with our divine function in creation, and execute that function in harmony with divine order. Our ancestral culture is Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, is the divine love or law of acceptance of divine order. Law and love is the same word in our ancestral languages. So the divine law or love, divine acceptance of order, and the divine hate, the divine rejection of disorder. Those are the expansive and attractive poles of our ancestral amamre or culture. Divinely accepting order, divinely rejecting disorder. We can maintain that when we make legitimate mistakes and we engage the ritual process to ritually incorporate divine law so we can learn what we need to incorporate and then ritually restore divine balance. Apply that to our situation. So that's what we deal with on Ojira Purification Day, dealing with the various expressions of ritual practice, cosmology, orature, and so forth. On our Wukuda or Akuada, which is Wednesday night, we have Egua, Marketplace Day. We showcase Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit businesses, organizations, and institutions. Those who are serving the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit community in a positive capacity, who maintain their ancestral religious values in the context of that service to the community. So we showcase the number of businesses, organizations, and institutions, and they come on to interview on the show. We will have more coming on to the show. We also deal with the philosophical foundation of our approach to ancestrally grounded economic development. So we published our Okom Economic Development Model, which deals with economic development from the ancestral religious values perspective. So you can download that Okom Economic Development Model from our website. It's a free download, of course. You'll see that in the context of that model, we have our operation, which we call Starve the Beast and Feed the Pride. That means on a weekly basis, you make an assessment to determine what funds you would have potentially wasted with whites and their offspring, and then you starve the beast and feed the pride. Redirect those funds away from the white businesses and direct them to the business, organization, or institution of the week. That's for optimal capital infusion so that we can infuse capital into a specific business of the week that allows them to hire within the business within the course of 7 days, expand their products and services to us, serve us at a greater capacity. If we do not engage that process, then by default, we leave those funds in the hands of the whites and their offspring, our enemies, and we are financing our own oppression when we do not reroute our funds away from white businesses and direct them to the business, organization, or institution of the week. So that's what we deal with on Agua, Marketplace Day. On Yauda, which is tonight, Thursday, which is also Yada and Abada, Thursday, we have AMANSEM, Affairs of the Nation. We deal with the Oman, the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit Oman, or nation. In general, the Ojira mine, the purified Ojira, Oman, nation, mine, land of the west, the setting sun. Our designation for Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people in the Western Hemisphere, those who are descendant of those who were forced into the Western Hemisphere during the Mmusuo Kesie, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era. We are also descendant of those people who, although they were forced, we maintained our ancestral religious traditions, and we were empowered and guided through our ancestral religious practices, such as Hoodoo, which is the Akan tradition in North America, Juju, which is the Yoruba tradition in North America, Voodoo, which is the Ebe and Fon tradition in North America, Wanga, which is the Ovambo tradition in North America, and Gengai, which is the Fang tradition in North America. We were empowered and guided through these traditions on the best means by which to wage war against the whites and their offspring, incessantly enforce the end of enslavement in the Western Hemisphere, taking up metal armaments and also utilizing our knowledge of medicine and so forth for chemical and biological warfare being waged against our enemies. We established the precedent for that through root work, chemical and biological warfare in our ancestral religious practices here in the Western Hemisphere in North America. And of course, we have that precedent to build upon today, utilizing root work to wage chemical and biological warfare against our enemies today. An Oman, a nation, is a living, breathing entity in the proper context, governed by specific abosom divinities, forces in creation. Orisha, just as an organ in your body, is a living, breathing entity governed by specific Orisha, abosom, Vodou, and so forth. And the children of the organ, which are the cells that function in harmony with one another, interdependently upon one another, but they also serve the function of their greater parent, which is the organ. They function harmoniously. They have their own individual function, but they also recognize their interdependence on one another and their role instinctively to support the overall functioning of the parent deity or the parent organ. We are cells within the great divine body of the Supreme Being. We were drawn together by the Nananom Nsamanfo, the ancestral spirits of our clans who are spiritually cultivated. They direct us to coalesce in a certain region of the Earth Mother's body. Asase Afua, we are in the Western Hemisphere region of her body. They pull us together in certain regions. We blend ancestral blood circles. We interface with the specific and unique expression of the abosom, the Orisha, the Vodou, the divinities, as manifest in this region of the Earth Mother's body. We take in the plant life and animal life and mineral life, consumption-wise and ritual-wise, from this region of the Earth Mother's body. We have children through those blended blood circles who are affected by the energetic output of this region of the Earth Mother's body, and therefore we forge a unique locative identity through that process. We become an Oman, a nation, blended ancestral blood circles carrying the unique energy configuration of this region of the Earth Mother's body and the expression that's unique of the abosom, the forces in nature in this region of the Earth Mother's body. So therefore, we are an Oman. We're a unique collective of Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, and we have an approach to dealing with our issues based on our energy complex and our identity as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere. So we talk about AMANSEM, affairs of the nation, how we approach our specific issues from a nationist perspective, an Amaniye or nationist perspective. Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, African Black nationism is the purification of nationalism. We have a nationist approach. And when we deal with a nationist approach, it's from the proper perspective of what an Oman, a nation, actually is. A coalescing of Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people under the guidance of specific abosom forces in nature. We are guided to operate in a certain fashion. So this is what we deal with on AMANSEM, different issues that are confronting the Oman, the nation, and the nationist approach to dealing with these issues. This is a special broadcast because today is, of course, the day of the Nain, which is the winter solstice. It is also the 20th anniversary of the release of our first publication, UBEN-HYENG The Ancestral Summons. We're going to go into some brief summary of some of the information found in the book. And we're going to put a link in the chat room right quick. And you can go to the page. We'll put that in the chat room right now on our website, ojidafo.com, /UBEN-HYENG page.html. So that link is in the chat room. The free download of the book is on that page. Of course, this is one of, in fact, the first of our 29 books. We've published 29 books to date. We have a number of books coming out very soon. But UBEN-HYENG, this was the first book that we published. Now, I'm going to pull up some information real quick just so you can see. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything here. I have to find this on the... I'm going to pull up the information we posted earlier today on our social media site. We're Kwesi Akan on Facebook, as well as Ojidafo Akan on Facebook. And we posted some information on the UBEN-HYENG. So I just want to pull that up right quick. All right, but when you go to the page, you can see that it says UBEN-HYENG The Ancestral Summons. UBEN-HYENG is the combination of the Knesu, Kanitu meaning Nubian, and Kamal, quote-unquote Egyptian term, UBEN, and the Twi Akan term, Shang. The terms are defined in their respective languages as descriptive of drawing forth by illumination to shine bright, brilliant. As a name, they are representative of the revivifying energy of creative power. Just as the morning sun calls for the rejuvenation of earth, UBEN-HYENG is a summons for the rejuvenation of the culture. And then we have the contents. Let me pull this information up real quick. It's just taking a minute to load. The contents in the book, The Origin and Function of Our Spiritual Inheritance, Origin and Purpose of Libation, Ancestral and Deity Worship, Ancestral and Deity Possession, Ritual Prayer, Ritual Meditation, Ritual Song and Dance, Nature Worship, Talismans and Amulets, Ritual Procreative Activity, Oracular Divination, Nature and Function of Idols, Necessity of Making Offerings, Origin and Purpose of Shrines, Necessity for Ancestral Communication, Nature and Function of the Goddesses and Gods, Nature and Function of Ancestral Names and Ancestral Languages, Origin and Purpose of Immortality, Nature and Function of Cycles, Nature and Function of Self-Defense, Origin and Purpose of Sacrifice, Liberation and Ancestral Religion, and Law. So all those things are addressed in the in the UBEN-HYENG. And then what we posted earlier today on our social media site, and this is part of just addressing what has taken place. We published the work on this date 20 years ago. This is the name, the winter solstice. We have liberated hundreds of thousands of Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit Africans, black people from the pseudo-religions of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hebrewism, Hinduism, Buddhism, pseudo-esotericism, etc., through the study of the UBEN-HYENG and our subsequent books. UBEN-HYENG The Ancestral Summons addresses the nature and functionality of our ritual practices within Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit Ancestral Religion. When we talk about the functionality, very often people see ritual practices and they see things that are symbolic without substance. You see some Catholics walking around making crosses and different little hand gestures and all of this other nonsense and bowing and kneeling and so forth. And the same in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hebrewism. All of these ritual movements and gestures are meaningless. They are symbols, corrupted symbols without any substance. In our ancestral religious practice, every ritual that we engage in has functionality. It has validity. It is a means by which that we are receiving, processing, and transmitting energy in a measurable fashion, in a quantifiable fashion, and is quantified through the consciousness of the abosom, the forces in nature, and the Nananum Umsamanfo, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors who empower us and guide us to engage these ritual practices to wield this energy in a specific fashion. So nothing we engage in is purely symbolic or abstract. It is always a measurable, quantifiable ritual practice of receiving, processing, and transmitting energy and quantifying that through consciousness in a specific manner. As we said earlier, it is through our ritual practices, which is key for us here in the Western Hemisphere, that we were empowered and guided to wage war against the whites and their offspring and force the end of enslavement in the Western Hemisphere. The UBEN-HYENG, the Ancestral Summons, reveals the nature of these ritual practices that we inherit spirit-genetically as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people from our direct ancestral blood circles. Now, we're going to look at, in summary, the topics that we address in the book. And if you go to the UBEN-HYENG page, of course, the link, you see the front cover of the book. When you click on the front cover of the book, then you can download the ebook version of the book. And, of course, we've made not only this book free, our first book, but all 29 of our books. The ebook versions are free downloads from our website. And, of course, we sell the softcover versions, but the ebook versions are free downloads. we've made available for Afurakani people wherever we exist in the world. So we go and download the book. You'll see that introduction. You see the image on the front. You'll see the gua, which is the ancestral seat or throne. It's called an ures in ancient Kemet. We call this specific image Ru, Ures, Gua, Kwesi, the symbol of the twin lineage, twin circulage of Knesset-Kanit and Kumbu Kancheabo. It is representative of the Sum, the spirit of Akwamumai and Amaruka Atifimu, the Akwamu nation in North America. And we go into some detail about that in one of our broadcasts, talking about Akwamumai and Amaruka Atifimu, the Akwamu nation in North America, but that Jata, that Ru, or that Jata, the lion, whose tail is ending in a serpent, which is crowned with the sun and so forth, on the face of this gua, this ancestral seat or throne, that is a sacred Nyamewaa animal totem for Akwamumai and Amaruka Atifimu, the Akwamu nation in North America, the Jata, male lion, Jata Nini, female lion, Jata Bere, and of course the child cub, Jata Foro, but the Jata Bere, that's the lion, lioness, is the Nyamewaa, major Nyamewaa for, or animal totem, sacred animal totem for Akwamumai and Amaruka Atifimu, the Akwamu nation in North America. What is important about that specific gua or throne with the lion or the Jata on the throne, again, we published this in 12,998 in December, which at that, in the Gregorian calendar, that's December 1997. The gua is an ancestral seat or throne that's found in Akan culture across the board. We show that the Urus in ancient Kemet is the same symbol and the same usage and so forth. There are many different kinds of gua or ancestral thrones, and some of them will have Esunu, an elephant. Some will have a Osebo, a lion. A leopard. Some will have Anansi, the spider. Some will have various forms of Adinkra symbols and so forth. At the time, we were directed by the Nyamewaa and Nyame, the ancestresses and ancestors, to draw out this gua representing Akwamumai and Amaruka Atifimu. They directed us to place a Jata or a lion on the gua. Now, that's something we had never seen before. We had never seen a gua or a throne in the Akan tradition with a Jata, a lion, as the base. So we were under the impression that this would be specific or unique to the Akwamu nation in North America. We had read some misinformation over 20 years ago talking about there were no lions in West Africa. In a particular book that was written by somebody who's misinformed. So at the time that our Nyamewaa and Nyame directed us, our spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors directed us to put this gua together, this representing the Akwamu nation in North America, and to place a Jata, a lion, on it, we were under the assumption that the reason they directed us to do that was that the Akwamu nation in North America will be unique because we have a lion or a Jata on our ancestral throne, and none of the other nations, Akan nations on the continent, have that because we had never come across that. What is very important is we followed that guidance, and of course, one of the reasons we confirm through ancestral communication and so forth, and ritual communication through the Abosom, they send the Nyamewaa, the lion, the Jata, as well as the Jata Bere, to us on a regular basis and to other family members on a regular basis to show that this is an animal totem that is within us and governs our matriclan and patriclan. The key is over a decade later, as a matter of fact, between 15 and 16 years later, we were on the internet and saw that the Akwamu nation in Ghana had decided to put together a website, akwamumine.org. And one of the things that they showed on the website was a number of images. And one of those images was a particular chair and on the back of the chair was a carving. Carved on the back of the chair, and you can see this on the internet, was a gua that represented the Akwamu state in West Afuraitkai. And there was a gua, the same ancestral seat, and it had a jata, a lion on top of it. So the jata gua, or the lion gua, the lion throne, is representative of the Akwamu nation in West Afuraitkai. 16 years prior to that, our people in North America directed us, number one, that we are Akwamu. They sent the Jata and Jata Bere, the lion, lioness, to us ritually on numerous occasions to confirm that to different family members who were not collaborating or thinking about this animal totem at all, directed us to put the Jata, the lion, on the gua, on the ancestral seat, and place it on the front page of the book, establishing the identity of the Akwamu nation in North America. And for 16 years, we identified this lion gua, or Jata gua, as we call Ru'uris gua Kwesi, as representative of the Akwamu nation in North America. And then 16 years later, we find that the Akwamu nation on the continent has a gua with a lion on top of it as well. There it says a lion on top, we have a lion in the middle, but the key is it's a Jata gua, or a lion throne. So that was simply one of the many confirmations for us that they identified us properly. And of course, when we deal with the hoodoo tradition and so forth, we've proven that extensively. But that was one of the first things that they did, was to identify us, identify our clan totem and so forth, and then 16 years later prove that incidentally, because we weren't even looking for that. We just saw that the Akwamu nation had finally put up a website. We just wanted to see what they were going to put up there. We assumed they would talk about Akwamu trustery and things like that, but one of the first things that we saw was the gua with the lion on it. It confirmed what we had done 16 years previous, never having contacted anyone from the Akwamu nation. Now, and that's the way the Nsema folk communicate. If you look in the beginning of the book, what you see, it says, you will come to recognize that whatever is done above is also done below. Whatever functions are executed in the spirit realm will be replicated in the physical realm. This is law. Those who lived before you have left their genetic imprint in you. Your physical body shows their genetic qualities. Your behavior is reflective of these qualities. Who are you descendant of essentially? Should you not then show the qualities and consciously engage in behavior which is reflective of your progenitor, progenitress, the great ancestral spirit? This is culture, the embracing of harmony. The way is then open to union. Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, who are heirs, heiresses of spirit, thus are the heiresses of spirit, thus your inheritance is that of the law and culture of the Supreme Being. You will die only when the Supreme Being dies. And of course, that last sentence, that's a proverb, an Ebe and Akan tradition. And the first one you will come to recognize that whatever is done above is also done below is a proverb, an Ebe from ancient Kanit and Kemet. The great ancestral spirit is the creator and creatress, as we show here, the progenitor and progenitress, which is Ra and Ra'et. Yonkumpon and Yonkunton, as we say in our Khan tradition, Odumare and Oshumare, as they say in the Yoruba tradition, Da and Aida Huedo in the Vodun tradition, and so forth. So when we talk about culture and the way we operate in creation, our way of life, not only do we have the genetic imprint of our ancestresses and ancestors, we have a spirit genetic imprint, the manner in which we behave and function and express ourselves, but our original ancestor and ancestress with regard to our Ba, our divine living energy, the spirit within our body, comes directly from the creator and creatress. We're talking about the creator of the universe, the creatress of the universe. We're not talking about this misinformation, talking about ancestral worship being the origin of the deities, like some pseudo-anthropologists talk about and brainwashed Negroes who talk about. The deities were originally just black people walking around, and we began to venerate our deceased ancestors and start calling them gods, and that's where the gods and goddesses come from, and God is really the great ancestors. That's pure stupidity. Ra and Ra'et, the creator and creatress, created the suns, moons, planets, stars, oceans, rivers, and so forth. We are directly descendant of Ra and Ra'et in the sense that they give a portion of their divine living energy, a portion of their spirit, a portion of their Ba or Ba'et, and place that within us. And we have a Ba or a Ba'et, a divine living force within us that we can direct to expand and contract and animate us. It's also an energetic link from us to the deities, the forces in nature. And when we bridge that energetic link from our spirit bodies to the spirit bodies of the deities, the forces in nature, as well as the ancestral spirits, then we can become possessed by them, we can communicate with them, and so forth. When we talk about Ra and Ra'et being the great progenitor and progenitress, this is what we're talking about. We talk about in the Akan tradition, in Yonkumpon and in Yonkuton represent the ancestry of Afuraitkaitnit people. That's what we're talking about. When they talk about Da and Idahuedo representing the ancestry of Afuraitkaitnit people in Vodun, this is what they're talking about. So, the law and the culture of the Supreme Being, we have inherited that from the movement of Ra and Ra'et throughout creation, the manner in which they expand and contract throughout creation and function as creator and creatress. Their way of operating is their culture. We have received that way of operating within creation in its variegated expression. That is the culture that we have inherited. This ritual culture that we're dealing with, the use of the Ba, the divine living energy, the Ba'et, to wield that energy through ritual practice so that we can link with, communicate with the Abosom, the deities, communicate with the Nananom and Samanfo, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, so we can incorporate the law that they express, and then we can restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions. This ancestral religious practice of ritually incorporating law and ritually restoring balance, this is what we're dealing with. So throughout the UBEN-HYENG, there are a number of different, basically, essays. Each one was given by the Nananom Nsamanfo, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, the title of each one, the subject of each one, and the way they are structured. So we were basically sitting down, listening to what the Nananom Nsamanfo had to say or share, what they wanted to share. We wrote that information down. Then we would go back to the ancestral shrine to ask questions to make sure if what was written was acceptable and expressive of what the Nananom Nsamanfo wanted to be shared. If we made mistakes, we would have to go back and edit. Then we would go back to the shrine and take that piece to the shrine and sit in front of the shrine and ask again if this is correct. After a number of edits, then that one particular essay would be complete. And then we would they would give us another topic, and this is how this book unfolded over the course of an entire cycle. It started in September around the equinox in 12,997, so-called 1997, and then it was completed on December 21st, 12,998, because, of course, on September 22nd, that's the autumn equinox, Amenet equinox for us. That's the beginning of our new year. So we shifted from 12,997 to 12,998, or 1997 to 1998. The Whites and Their Offspring, of course, didn't start 1998, quote unquote, until January 1st. But for us, 98 began on September 22nd. So between September around the equinox to the solstice is when this book was fashioned in that specific period. And it was fashioned through, as we said, going to the shrine. So everything you read in this text is coming directly from the Nananom Nsamanfo of Akwamumai and Amanukai Tipi Move for the benefit of Afuraitkaitnit people, African black people in the Western Hemisphere within Ojita Mine, and our people wherever we exist in the world. We're not going to read through every piece. We did a 2-part broadcast where we went into detail and dissected every part of the book, every aspect of the book. but we will touch on specific things in these different essays or presentations. The first one, talking about Goddess pours libation in your honor. We talk about the natural cycle of evaporation and condensation and precipitation and so forth, talking about the rainfall being the original libation, configuring earth and so forth, rejuvenating earth and so forth, and then we appropriate a portion of that rainfall and direct it to a specific part of earth. Our ancestresses and ancestors are connected to earth when we make our transition. The bodies are buried in earth, reconnected with Asasiya, the earth, one of the earth mother divinities. Of course, Asasiya is the fertile earth. Asasiya is the quote-unquote barren earth, but she receives those corpses so they can be transformed into crystalline bodies, which are shrines, natural magnetic shrines for the spirit who used to take up residence in that physical body. So we appropriate a portion of the great libation, the rainfall, and we take that and we direct a portion of that libation to pour on earth to invoke and evoke our ancestresses and ancestors, as well as invoking the AMANSEM, the divinity. Goddess pours libation. We're talking specifically about the female divinity Kethit, the daughter of Anpu, who is the libationist goddess, the one who's releasing that fluid, that water from the sky to rejuvenate earth and rejuvenate us. So just as that's taking place in creation, in nature, then we engage that same ritual process, which is libation. The rainfall is the original libation. We engage that same ritual process and direct a portion of that rainfall towards the pouring of libation to communicate with our ancestresses and ancestors. This is a direct relationship between the natural ritual process that takes place in creation and how our ritual process is a reflection of that. This is our ancestral culture. This is what we're talking about when we say as above, so below. The culture of the progenitor and progenitress, we have inherited that spirit genetically. In the second piece, when we say goddess prostrates God, praise, ancestral deity, worship, we say every emanation is a prayer. Every emanation from you is energy vibrating from you into the cosmos. Every word is a sound or a collection of sounds. Every sound is a vibration. Every vibration is energy. Each sound in this vibratory wave and rate is representative of an aspect of deity, creative power. Different vibrations generate different colors. Different vibrations generate different forms. Every sound thus generates an image, form, and color. Every thought, image is an emanation, a vibration, a sound, word, a prayer. So as the forces in nature are moving up throughout creation and generating energy which emanates from them, the nature of their energy complex determines the frequency of energy that's emanating from them in a unique configuration. As that energy is moving, it generates sound vibrations, sound waves, and so forth that we can pick up on, so we can attune to the emanations coming from the forces in nature. We can attune to the emanations coming from plant life, animal life, and mineral life, and so forth. We emanate. As long as life force energy is circulating throughout our body, we have a unique form, so that life force energy emanating from us is emanating in a unique configuration based on our unique form. There are sound vibrations emanating from us on a consistent basis. First and foremost, those sound vibrations enunciate our true name, the life force energy moving through your body, your physical shrine, your uniquely configured instrument, that collection of sound vibrations which is unique to you because nobody is shaped exactly like you. That unique configuration of sound vibrations constantly emanating from you is your actual name. And when you repeat that and replicate that configuration of sound vibrations with your vocal cords, you are enunciating your true name. But all naturally occurring entities, naturally created entities in creation, that receive the divine living energy of Ra and Ra'at is circulating within them as they move and operate and act and project and so forth. They are emanating sound vibrations, energetic formations which manifest through sound vibrations. They are emanating prayers and so forth. So we talk about ancestral deity worship, word shipping or worth shipping, shipping your words, shipping your sounds, shipping your worth, shipping your energetic emanations which manifests sound vibrations. This is word shipping or worth shipping. Worth is determined by your unique configuration of energy. That is your value or worth, which distinguishes you from other individuals and entities in creation and so forth. So when you ship your unique configuration of energy, you're shipping your worth or your words or your sound vibrations, your collection of energy. That is word shipping. And when we project our energy to the AMANSEM, the deities, the ancestral spirits, and provoke a response from them, and we receive those sound vibrations and emanations from them, that is word shipping or worth shipping as well. So again, it's based on what the AMANSEM, the forces in nature, how they operate in creation and project and impact us, and how we operate in harmony with that. This is culture. This is a replication of what the forces in nature are engaged in. We replicate that same process. This is where you receive or manifest ancestral deity worship. Ancestral deity possession is the next piece. Meditation, participation, ancestral deity possession. Meditation facilitates conscious participation. We call susu hon or susu. That's the term for meditation in Akan. It facilitates conscious participation. Through meditation or susu, we transfer our conscious focus from the external plane to the internal planes. We thus come to participate consciously in the spirit realm, the spirit world, the community of ancestral spirits, deities. We consciously allow different thoughts, spirit energy to direct our physical body and behavior, whether guided or misguided. Should we not consciously allow the ancestral spirits and their thoughts, energy to direct our physical body and behavior during ritual, that they may bring a message of wisdom? This is ancestral possession. And then we talk about possession by unseen and unseen power, where one focuses his or her consciousness on a particular aspect or phase of creative power. One comes to know that power, that phase of power, possess that power, becomes dominate, participates in that power. He, she becomes that power, deity through deity possession. The spiritual forces in creation, just like a tornado can whip around somebody and get inside their body when they're breathing, but also lift the body up off the ground. The forces in nature can enter into our bodies through communication and move through us. This is deity possession. And they bring their energy as well as their messages to keep us on track, to reject disorder and accept divine order. This is direct communication with the AMANSEM, spirit possession, deity possession. The next piece, song and dance, is ritual possession meditation. We say that sound is power manifest. Rhythm is power conditioned. Different vibrations, different rhythms. Different rhythms, different powers. God's power manifests through sound, rhythm. Goddess's energy manifests through God. We're talking about specific divinities. We are captivated by this sound. We are animated by this rhythm. We exist through form as this sound and rhythm. When we talk about the movement of the divinities, how they generate these sound vibrations and so forth, when we use ritual song, different vibrations generate different tones and so forth. Those different tones are connected to different divinities of different energy complexes, and of course the different tones and vibrations generate different colors and different geometric patterns. As we said earlier, we use ritual song, those unique configurations of vibrations used in a harmonious manner, governed, of course, by Het Heru, which we talked about, how she fuses together different sounds in a harmonious way to produce music that is ritual and healing. That unique configuration of sound vibrations we use richly in song. We understand that someone can sing to a certain extent the sound vibrations, where those sound vibrations are so powerful they can break a glass. What effect do sound vibrations, if they can break a hard substance like glass, what effect do they have on your organs, your tissues, your hormonal secretion, which leads to emotional expression and a shift in your mental output and so forth, a shift in your energetic output, a healing response within your body and different organs when you're having an issue and so forth. Ritual song allows us to tap into that power. Ritual dance is wielding energy through movement. Wielding energy just like a bird with wings. As they move in a certain fashion, they're going to lift their bodies off of the ground. We're moving our arms and legs in a certain fashion. We're wielding energy as we move. Depending on the different forms that we use, it places us in contact with the different abosom, the orisha, and so forth, who govern that different expression of energy. So, again, Het Heru governs that unique, harmonious combination of movements that are harmonious in the context of ritual, healing, dance, and so forth. We become possessed by that energy. It's a form of meditation and so forth, a form of moving meditation, susu. So we talk about song and dance as ritual possession meditation, and we go into detail about that in that piece. In the piece on nature worship, we talk about nature speaking, and we're communicating with nature. As we said earlier, just by virtue of the fact you have a divine living energy circulating throughout your form is unique to you. Nobody else has your specific form, just like you have musical instruments. You have brass instruments, for example. You can blow in a tuba. You can blow in a trombone. You can blow in a trumpet. It's the same air from the same source, but the sounds that emanate from each instrument are different because the instruments are shaped different. They have a different form and a different size. And divine living energy moves through the same energy from Ra and Ra'et, but it moves through your form. A unique configuration of sound vibrations emanate from you. And it moves through the form of another Afurakani or Afuraitkaitnit individual and our people only, because the energy of Ra and Ra'et does not move through the whites and their offspring. They repel the whites and their offspring. But when each different form, whether it's us or plant life, animal life, mineral life, and so forth, the sound vibrations emanating from each different form are unique to that form. As they're living and functioning, they're constantly emanating their unique configuration of sound vibrations, which you can attune to, and therefore you can word ship or ship your words, ship your energy to plant life, animal life, mineral life, and the spirits that animate them. And they can ship their energy to you. Now you're engaged in nature, word ship or worshipping, communication. You can learn from plant life their properties, learn from mineral life their properties. This is how we gather medicine and so forth in the hoodoo tradition, juju tradition, wanga, and so forth. You can learn their properties, their quote-unquote secrets, or their nature, and learn how to harmonize with them, learn how to incorporate them into our lives for healing as well as gaining knowledge and so forth. So that's what we talk about with regard to nature worship in that piece. We talk about in the next piece the spirit womb of the talisman amulet. What is the nature of the womb? It must receive and retain. What is the nature of the womb? It must receive and retain, for only then can the function of gestation commence. What is the nature of the spirit womb? Must not the same functions be executed? Where is the spirit womb? And we talk about impregnating talismans, amulets with the energy of the abosom, the energy of the nananom unsamanfo, that becomes a womb that receives that energy, gestates it, and can release it for our protection, for our healing, and so forth. So that ritual function of the talisman and amulet is a replication of the function of the womb. So when we utilize talismans and amulets in a harmonious fashion, connected to the abosom and nananom unsamanfo, we're not talking about when people take talismans and amulets and tie them to criminal, deceased, discarnate, wayward spirits who are disordered, and pass those spirits off as deities and sell people those talismans so they can mess around with those weak spirits. We're talking about talismans and amulets that are sanctioned by the abosom and nananom unsamanfo, that are miniature and portable shrines that they communicate with us through. We impregnate these portable shrines just like a spirit womb. So that's a replication of a natural function, a cultural function that the progenitor and progenitress, Ra and Ra'et, executes throughout creation on a regular basis. We replicate that function in our ritual practice. We talk about creation being ritual incarnation in the other piece. Of course, when we talk about reincarnation, your spirit enters your physical body. When we talk about creation in general, the various abosom take up residence in the various features of creation: oceans, rivers, mountains, atmosphere, core of Earth, inner core, inner core, suns, stars, moons, black substance of space. Creation as it unfolds is the ritual incarnation of Ra and Ra'et, the various abosom. So when we engage in procreative activity, we're engaged in the ritual creation or incarnation of an ancestral spirit, bringing them into the world just like the deities entered into the world. That's ritual incarnation, creation as ritual incarnation. If you destroy creation, which we say at the end, to reject the deities incarnate in as creation, to strain and damage your bodily organs, glands, structures through non-ritual sex procreation, through improper diet and behavior, is to reject the deities incarnate in as your physical body. And we say such rejection is the only death. So we talk about creation as ritual incarnation of the abosom, the divinities, and your physical body is a microcosm of the larger macrocosm, the great divine body, the supreme being, just as the deities incarnate as organs within the great divine body, the supreme being. The organs within your body are miniature shrines for the divinities, centers of residence for them to communicate with you. If you do not take care of this shrine, this ancestral shrine and deity shrine, which is your physical body, you are courting self-destructive and what we would call a real death. The next piece, the world is the great oracle. We talk about the nature of oracular divination. Anytime we engage in inquiry, asking questions, probing, projecting, trying to gain knowledge, to learn, to know, we are provoking the abosom, provoking the non-unknown for answers. We're engaged in oracular function. And the world with the great divine body of the supreme being, with the organs and systems and so forth, and your body with its organs and systems, this is an oracular structure. And when you come to know yourself through these different shrines in the body of the supreme being, you're engaged in an oracular function. And so we go into some detail about that. The next piece, God is an idolater. We're talking about the divinity Ptah, fashioning forms according to a pre-existent image. That's what an idol is, a substance structured into a specified form according to a pre-existent image. Your physical body is a substance structured in a specified form according to a pre-existent image or pattern. And then the abosom that takes up residence in your form impresses itself within your form. You are an idol fashioned by Ptah, and the spiritual force, not only of Ra and Ra'et, the bond by it, but also the divinity that governs you, takes up residence in that idol, meaning Ra and Ra'et, the creator and creatress, shift their words or their energy or their sound vibrations, their emanations into you, the idol that they just fashioned. That is idol worship or idolatry. Of course, the whites and their offspring try to make the term and function idolatry something evil. In reality, it's divine. And they're too inferior to be able to engage that process, so they don't want us to engage that process. It's dangerous for them, for us to be able to sit in a room and get a piece of wood that's fashioned in the form of a divinity and so forth, and the deity takes up residence, communicates with us through that shrine, that piece of wood, and directs us to get up and go and massacre the police, go and massacre the whites and their offspring. They can't stop that kind of communication. It's dangerous. So they have to make us believe that idol worship or idol word shipping, or shipping our words, our vibrations into that idol, which is a miniature shrine, so we can communicate with the forces of nature and our ancestresses and ancestors for direction and methods to wage war against the whites and their offspring. They recognize that to be supremely dangerous to white rule. So they have to outlaw ancestral religion in general, ridicule, denigrate ancestral religion in general, especially with regard to idol worship. But that is a sacred, divine, brilliant practice. And of course, when we engage that practice, like we talked about Okunfo Ma'aka, so-called Micah Xavier Johnson, getting involved in ancestral religion, utilizing that divine idolatry to communicate with the Nsamafo, being empowered to get up, go and massacre 5 white police officers in Dallas. Those crackers will never again be able to harass, stalk, torture, or kill black people We're taking beasts off the field through the power of ancestral religion. The same with Okunfo, or warriors, Asars Atepenra, misnomer Gavin Long, who went 10 days later last year over a year ago, into Baton Rouge, 10 days after Okunfo Maka in Dallas went to Baton Rouge and killed 3 cops in Baton Rouge and wounded many others. Utilizing ancestral religion, idolatry, communicating with the Abosom, getting direction right in the privacy of the home, then standing up, getting prepared, and executing, massacring the enemy. You cannot stop someone who does not fear death because they communicate with the ancestresses and ancestors who are in the ancestral realm on a regular basis. You cannot stop someone who is empowered by the Abosom to get up, stand up, and execute according to those dictates. So the whites in our spring, of course, have to demonize to the best of their weak capacity our ritual practices, especially with regard to idolatry. But of course, we embrace idolatry fully because we understand what it really is. The next piece talking about God structures the great economy through worlds, make offerings, and of course, we're talking here about a specific God, a specific divinity. Each time we mention God or goddess in the UBEN-HYENG, we're talking about a specific divinity depending on the specific portion, whether it's Ra or Ra'et or Ptah or Seker or Het-Heru or whoever it is. As you're going through the piece, you'll see which divinities we're talking about. We're talking about allocating resources in an equitable fashion. We make offerings, we're allocating resources in an equitable fashion so we can provoke the energy of the Abosom or the Nananom Unsamanfo to eradicate a temporary deficit in our understanding or a temporary deficit in our energy complex where there's weakness, so that we're empowered to heal ourselves, get the proper information to bring balance to disordered situations. And we go into detail about that in that section. We talk about the human body, the world, our shrines within a shrine in the next piece. Ancestral communication, which is an appeal for guidance. The nature and function of the deities, the nature and function of the name, and ancestral language, as we talked about before. We also talk about Sekhmet, goddess's destruction, his reorganization. We talk about bartering fear for the knowledge of immortality. We talk about spring arriving, it's regenerating the culture. We are in the midst of this 26,000-year cycle, thus the years beginning with 13,000, and we've moved into the spring section of that 26,000-year cycle. This is why our culture is being regenerated and so forth. Etchi sign, ancestral religious reversion. Ojiraman, the purified nation, and so forth. And we also talking about killing is transference, murder is stealing, so the ritual natural function and divine function of sacrifice, or this ritual sacrifice offering to the divinities, or sacrificing, killing our enemies to bring balance to our situation as a people, divinely guided. And then we talk about the initiated, those who are priests and priestesses, healers, healeresses, and so forth in various capacities as instruments of liberation. The final piece we want to read directly, and this is, again, message coming directly from the Abosom and Nsamanfo. It says, our roles as Ntoru tu Abosom, our roles as Aku Akutu Nsamanfo are joined, inseparable, with respect to the awakening of the full potential of the spirit in the individual. This is the deities and ancestral spirits that are spiritually cultivated talking directly to us, and we were simply dictating or taking that dictation down so we can convey it to the community. So they said our roles as Ntoru tu Abosom divinities, our roles as Aku Akutu Nsamanfo spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors are joined, inseparable, with respect to the awakening of the full potential of the spirit in the individual. We are not here to carry out your tasks. We cannot do the work for you, for we are never in violation of the law in which we are sustained, through which we are fed and have our origin, our existence. Your choices determine the path you tread. You have a destiny, but your success depends on the choice you make at the critical moment. We as Aku, Akutu, Nsamanfos, ancestresses and ancestors that are spiritually cultivated, can answer your questions. We can provide insight into a direction upon which you are contemplating. We can show you today the nation of which you are a direct incarnation, the ways of the people, us from whom you directly descend. We can function as intermediaries, access to the forces which influence events. We, as Ntoru Abosom deities, will nourish, replenish, and sustain your spirit, your body. We will convey the power of the consciousness for you to carry out the tasks which you choose to undertake. But you must see that every act sets events in motion, events that will not be reversed. Some may endeavor to avoid consequences through manipulation of forces, but none can ever truly escape. We worship the law, we uphold the law. We can never deviate from the law, the supreme being. Make your choice. Unite your will to the divine will, and you will prosper. You will accomplish what you incarnated to accomplish. Reject the will of divinity, and you will receive that which you chose to receive. It is ultimately your choice. You have never had an idea. You know nothing. The wisdom of divinity is from which comes all knowledge. We as Ntoru Abosom form wisdom as knowledge. This we hold in time. Every desire generated in you to think, to know, is an invocation of us to transmit knowledge. Your intelligence is proportionate to your degree of receptivity. We as Aku, Akutu, Nsamanfo do assist you. We access knowledge, ideas for you when you lack the receptivity. For to be receptive, you must listen. You must silence yourself. Yet your desire to know is rivaled by your desire to follow those which lead you away from your path. Know then that you have no thoughts of your own. Know that we must always be involved. Know that the only thing you own is the choice to reject that which is received. Know only because the Supreme Being knows. So that's the epilogue to the UBEN-HYENG, culminates all of the lessons within the UBEN-HYENG coming directly from the Abosom and Nanano and Nsamanfo. As we said earlier, it's been 20 years. We have impacted hundreds of thousands of our people, transforming lives of our people, transforming behavior, shifting the manner in which they operate in life, shifting and transforming their relationships with their spouses, with their children, with their family members, engaging in nation building, restoration activities, and so forth, becoming entrepreneurs, purifying their bodies, purifying their diets, purifying their lifestyle, recognizing the reality of divine order, which is comprised of divine law, love, and divine hate, recognizing who our enemy is and building towards the defense of a sovereign, independent Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, Oman. This is the result and the impact of UBEN-HYENG over the past 20 years. And of course, the information we have out right now, beginning with the UBEN-HYENG and our 29 books, is simply scratched the surface. It's just a summary of the information that we have coming forward, that will be coming forward. So we really have just only begun. This is just a drop in the bucket in comparison to the information that will be coming forward. But the UBEN-HYENG, along with the Kuku Tumtum and the Wabo Jira, that Ahinasa of information, forms the foundation for everything that we have published to date. The 29 books, over 100 articles, nearly 300 broadcasts, and so forth, and on and on and on. So the next phase of this movement we're shifting into is not only through books and print and broadcasts and so forth, but we're moving into the documentary film aspect. As many of you know, we started that process back in January. It's been 11 months so far. We're working on our first documentary film where we will be showcasing the ancestral religious practices, specifically dealing with the systems of oracular divination that we maintained in our blood circles here in North America. When we were forced into the Western Hemisphere, we continue to practice our traditions, as we said. We maintain specific expressions of oracular divination, unique to our ritual practices and our ethnic groups and so forth. And we continue these practices for hundreds of years here in North America. It is these systems of oracular divination that empowered and guided us on the best means by which to escape from enslavement, to wage war against the whites and our offspring, to force the end of enslavement, free our people, and so forth. So we will be showcasing these different expressions of divination from the Hoodoo tradition, which is Akan, the Juju tradition, which is Yoruba, the Voodoo tradition, which is Ebe and Fon, the Wanga tradition, which is Ovambo, inclusive of the Gullah tradition, the Ngangan, which is the Fang tradition, and so forth. And we have a number of healeresses, as well as myself, who will be presenting on these different aspects of the traditions in this film. This is the next phase. If you've been impacted by the UBEN-HYENG positively at some point over the past 20 years, if it's actually been a positive impact, then we're asking people on this anniversary to go to our crowdfunding page to assist us to get our film completed. We can complete the film within about a 30-day period. We're only at about 45% of our crowdfunding effort. We started back in January. We've had about 90 people who have contributed over the past 11 months. But of course, we have thousands of people who download our books per month. We have about 4,000 books that are downloaded on a monthly basis. The free books that we give away for free online, all of our books, the ebook versions are free. Of course, we have thousands of followers on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and so forth. So it should not, and it cannot all be placed, the burden on the 90 people, many of whom have given more than once over the past 11 months. We can reach our goal actually tonight simply by the people who are listening to the broadcast, because we have a number of people who tune into the broadcast as well. So if the UBEN-HYENG has actually positively impacted your life in some fashion over the past 20 years, we're asking that you starve the beast and feed the pride now and go to our fundraiser page so we can get this film released, because once the film is completed and released, then of course we will impact not only hundreds of thousands of our people, but through the internet and so forth, and the release will be impacting millions of our people here and of course around the world. We're working to not only restore ancestral religious practice, but of course to destroy the fake religions. And that started with the Kuku Tuntun, proving that Jesus and Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Ishmael and Muhammad and Allah and Yahweh and Buddha and Brahman and all these characters are fictional cartoon characters who never existed of any form or of any race whatsoever. We're eradicating that poison, that cancer from the spirits of our people. And we're also restoring their consciousness and understanding of ritual practice connected to our ancestral practices through the UBEN-HYENG. So we give that cosmology and trustery in the Kuku Tuntun, but we also show what we actually have in our ancestral religious traditions in the UBEN-HYENG. So when they eradicate that nonsense, they can move directly into true ritual practice that actually benefits them. This is what has been taking place. We released the UBEN-HYENG 15 years ago. The Kuku Tuntun 15 years ago, but we first released the UBEN-HYENG. And then after that, the Kuku Tuntun, and then after that, the Wavo Jita, and everything proceeded from there. So we're going to look in the chat room real quick to make sure we haven't missed anything. Our AMANSEM broadcast, it's normally from 10 to 11, but it's a 1-hour broadcast. It's affairs of the nation, just talking about what's going on in the nation and addressing our issues from a nationist perspective. But, of course, this is a unique AMANSEM Affairs of the Nation broadcast, because what's going on in our Oman, our nation, today on the Nain winter solstice is the anniversary. So, again, if you have been impacted, starve the beast and feed the pride. As we talked about in our broadcast last night, we want to overcome the paraplegic nature of awareness. We talked about awareness is one thing, but movement and action is another. A paraplegic is aware, they know everything that's going on inside the room, but if they do not act or move, they don't have the capacity, then they cannot benefit themselves. We can be aware of things, we can like and share things on social media, we can talk about all kinds of things, showing awareness, but if we don't engage in action, movement, support, then awareness is simply paraplegic and has no value whatsoever. So this is why we deal with those who have actually been impacted by the work, not reaching out to people who have never been impacted by the work and just trying to convince them to see the value in it, but those who have actually taken in the work and it's transformed their lives. If you've had that experience, then please go to the website now before you forget. Go to the fundraiser.com site, Amado Capo Adebisa, to support our project. We can get this project fully funded within the next 24 hours, just with the people who listen to our broadcast, and we can move forward and complete the film in the next 30 days, and then we can release it before the spring equinox. We'll have a release, and we will be going from city to city, having screenings in the various cities where you all reside, screening the film and so forth, and interacting with the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit online, with Ojirama and the Purified Nation. So we want to say Yerase. We thank you for supporting the work and the UBEN-HYENG over the past 20 years and the work that has come forward since then. Yerase to those who have supported the film project. Yerase to those who are going to the crowdfunding site now to support. This is just the beginning. As we said, this 20-year process was merely a purification process. Now it is full-blown, and the work that we have coming out will actually expand on everything that we have done over the past 20 years. We are just beginning. So again, Yerase, we thank you for tuning into the broadcast, and Yebeshia Bio, we will meet again. Heads up.